Masters of the Universe Revelation Prequel comic book series explored. Introduction. In 2021, Netflix released the new Masters of the Universe Revelation, which they claimed was in continuation with a fan-favorite 1980 show. Although the animation of this series was top-notch, the story was not that great. Thus, it received a lot of criticism from the fans of the original series. The series was also criticized for the way they portrayed He-Man and made him a secondary protagonist in his own show. Irrespective of the reception that the series got, the makers just dropped the trailer of the new Masters of the Universe series called Masters of the Universe Revolution, which is in continuation with the Masters of the Universe Revelation. So there is no better time to visit the story to learn what happened and what might happen in the future. In today's video, we will discuss the story of a prequel comic to the Masters of the Universe Revelation, which connects the fan-favorite 1980 show with the new series. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like this video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. What happened before the Masters of the Universe Revelation animated series? The story of this prequel comic starts with King Randor in his palace of Eternos. The king tells his wife that he is sensing some kind of danger lurking in the corner, but his wife, Queen Morlina, asks him not to worry and stop being paranoid. Some moments later, Prince Adam wakes up to the noise of the king's screaming. He soon transforms into his alter ego He-Man and rushes to the king's aid. Once there, he witnesses a squid-like creature standing over King Randor. All the attacks from Teela and the other guards were phasing through the creature's body without touching it. Watching this, He-Man comes to the king's rescue and takes out his sword of power. But before he can do anything, the creature runs away. Later in Castle Grayskull, the sorceress reveals that the creature is called the Orlacs of Primaria. It is an ancient monster that is even older than the power itself. She reveals that the Orlacs has poisoned the king into a deep slumber, and they don't have a cure for this poison. So the sorceress asks the man-at-arms to launch a search to find the Orlacs and asks He-Man to follow her. She takes him to the cosmic doorway and explains that this doorway serves as a door into space and time. The sorceress explains that the Orlacs fled at the sight of the Sword of Power, which means the Orlacs had previously met the sword. So it's possible that they might find a cure in the pages of history. This means He-Man needs to go to the past to find a cure to save his father. He-Man enters the doorway and finds himself in the period of King Grayskull. While King Grayskull was training his sons Dare and Ro, he was attacked by the Snake Men and the Orlacs. During the confrontation, one of the tentacles pierces Dare and he goes into a deep slumber. King Grayskull tries to attack the Orlacs but cannot cut its tentacle, so he seeks the advice of the elders to save his son. The elders reveal that the king must forge a sword from a special ore found in Subternia and combine the sword with his sword of Preternia. Integrating these swords would allow the king to access a potent primal magic that would grant him the power to defeat this monster. So King Grayskull travels to Subternia and gets the ore from Scare Glow. After making a deal with him, he forges the sword from the Subternian ore and combines it with his sword to form the Sword of Power. Using the sword, Grayskull cuts the limb of the Orlacs. But the king is too late, and his son is beyond saving. While the king is mourning the loss of his son, the Orlacs comes back and tries to attack King Grayskull. He-Man had been watching all this from the sidelines, but the attack from the Orlacs prompted him to interfere and save the life of King Grayskull. He-Man cuts one of the limbs of the Orlacs and takes it back to his time. After returning to his time, He-Man reveals that the Orlacs was from a different dimension. The reason it traveled to their world is unknown. But one thing is certain, the creature is trying to communicate something with them. That's why he brought the tentacle of the Orlacs from the past, and the creature regenerated his whole body from just the tentacle. Right now, the sorceress is trying to establish a telepathic link with the creature to communicate with them and find a cure for the poison. He-Man suggests that the monster did not attack the king of his own accord, and someone else mind-controlled the creature into attacking the king. Soon we see that the one controlling the Orlacs of Primaria is none other than Skeletor. From savior to sinister, Skeletor's shocking transformation into the Master of Evil. Skeletor gets agitated as his telepathic link with the Orlacs is broken by the sorceress, and he asks Evil-Lyn to connect him back to the creature. But Evil-Lyn informs him they can't do anything until the sorceress is connected to the beast. This frustrates Skeletor, and he asks his minions to leave. He reveals that he was close to discovering the secrets of the Castle Grayskull because the Orlacs knows everything about the castle and its secrets. Then Skeletor starts recalling his backstory. He reveals that he's from a land called Apollos. The concept of magic did not exist in their world. There, he used to work as a slave, and one fateful day, he killed his tyrant master and became the hero of his people. Later, he married a woman and also had a baby daughter. He was happy until one day, his oppressors returned and killed his wife and child. After that event, he was devastated and started looking for a way to take revenge for the death of his family. His prayers were heard, and Hordak, a conqueror from another dimension, came to his world and introduced him to the power of magic. Hordak promised Skeletor that he'd revive his wife and child if he served under him. So Skeletor became his apprentice, and the first thing he did was kill the people who murdered his wife and child. He used the head of his oppressors to craft his weapon that we know as Havoc's Staff. After helping Hordak enslave his people, Skeletor asks his master to fulfill his promise, but Hordak denies that he didn't make any promise to him. He baits Skeletor by telling him that if he continues to serve him well, he'll probably grant his wish to revive his family. One day Skeletor asks his master again, and Hordak agrees, but with a condition. He decides to give the power to resurrect only one person. Skeletor was in a dilemma. He was not sure whom to revive, his wife or his child. In the end, he made the difficult choice and chose to revive his child. But soon, his daughter was also taken away from him because he had to go with the army of Hordak to help him conquer other dimensions. He continued assisting Hordak, but soon he realized that Hordak had no intention of granting him the power to revive his wife. As they kept conquering the worlds and got closer to Eternia, Skeletor realized that his connection with magic grew even stronger. Thus, he started plotting to get rid of Hordak and become the ruler of Eternia. He reveals that his only goal is to uncover the secret of Castle Grayskull and find the power to revive his wife. After he told his story, Evil-Lyn laughed at him and claimed she did not believe in anything Skeletor said. Skeletor says that he wasn't lying. Evil-Lyn says that Skeletor does not need a sob story to have her support because she has always believed in him and will continue to support him. After swearing her allegiance, Evil-Lyn leaves for her chamber, where it is revealed that she is secretly trying to get the Orlacs to reveal its secrets to her. The transformation of Evil-Lyn and the resurrection of the king. Evil-Lyn tried to learn the secrets of the Orlacs for the whole night and could not sleep. The next day, Skeletor asks her to connect him to the Orlacs, but she reminds him that if the sorceress is connected to Orlacs, they will not be able to communicate with him. But Skeletor was still adamant, and Evil-Lyn mounted the device on the head of Skeletor, which would allow him to connect to the creature. While mounting the device on Skeletor's head, Evil-Lyn starts remembering her story and how she got here. When Lyn was still a little girl, her parents sold her to a couple. The couple who became her foster parents used to torture her every day. So one day, she decided to flee through an underground drain, and there she met an old lady. The old lady teaches her the antics of magic, but also warns her to use her powers for good, otherwise the powers will corrupt her. When Lyn grows up, she decides to take revenge on her foster parents and goes to kill them, but her mentor thwarts her attempts. Lyn runs away and two men chase after her. The two men corner her, and without her magic orb, Lyn is unable to use her magical powers. But at the right moment, Skeletor comes to the rescue. He kills the men who cornered Lyn and takes her to his place. He provokes Lyn against her mentor and reveals that Lyn's mentor had restrained her powers, and that's why she wasn't able to use magic without her orb. So Lyn comes back and kills her mentor for restraining her powers. After Lyn kills her mentor, Skeletor asks her to aid him in defeating the evil tyrant Hordak, and probably Evil-Lyn assisted Skeletor in taking down Hordak and becoming the new ruler of his army. After Lyn wakes up from her daydream, she is confronted with the revelation that He-Man and Teela are here in the domain of Skeletor. A few moments later, Skeletor also becomes aware of the arrival of He-Man and Teela. He-Man reveals that they know Skeletor was controlling the Orlacs when it attacked King Randor. Initially, Skeletor denies his claims, but when Evil-Lyn constructed a magic wall between the warriors and them, Skeletor accepted, using the Orlacs to attack the king. Before He-Man can break the wall and demand an antidote to the poison, Evil-Lyn opens a portal and runs away with Skeletor. After leaving the site, Skeletor reveals that he finally found the secret of the Castle Grayskull. All this time, he had been obsessing over the castle, but the castle was only a facade. The only purpose of the castle is to guard the Orb of Power, which is inside the Hall of Wisdom. With this newfound knowledge, Skeletor asks Evil-Lyn to assemble their army to attack King Randor and Castle Grayskull. Back in the castle, everyone was devastated that He-Man and Teela failed their mission. King Randor was still unconscious with no sign of waking up. Meanwhile, Teela became suspicious that everyone was hiding something from her. Nobody knows where He-Man comes from, but still, everyone trusts him. She was fed up with their lies and started lashing out at them, claiming they were all liars. While she was agitated, King Randor slowly started waking up from his coma. Suddenly, something happens to Teela and her body starts glowing, emanating an energy that even blinds He-Man. The next moment, King Randor completely wakes up from a slumber and everyone is happy to see their king back. Teela was still surprised that she did all of this. She asks everyone what happened just now. Queen Marlena reveals that she went to the Orlacs and begged it to leave the king, but the creature couldn't understand her, so she prayed to the crystal orb and the elders. The power listened to her prayers and somehow answered them through Teela. The king is still confused and wonders how Teela could pull off such a feat. The sorceress explains that all who live in the light of Zoar become vessels for her wisdom and good deeds. Everyone rejoices in the revival of their king, but as soon as the king and queen leave, Teela claims that she thinks something is going on here, but before she could say anything else, the sorceress made her unconscious. She took away her memories and merged them with the power orb, claiming that it was for the good of everyone. Teela wakes up and wonders what just happened and how the king is. He-Man calms her down and claims that everything is alright, but this wasn't the end, it was the beginning of a new revelation. Marvelous verdict. Although this prequel comic set up a strong base for the Masters of the Universe revelation, the series turned out to be pretty bad because of its poor storytelling and emasculation of He-Man. But the new Netflix series Masters of the Universe Revolution seems promising from the trailer. As fans of the original series, we hope this turns out to be good because we really want to see He-Man in full glory. With that being said, if you like our content, like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.